In July 2012, I opened the heaviest story I ever experienced and entered a courtroom for the first time in my life. I started to break into a cold sweat, looked down towards the ground and avoided all eye contact. I searched around to find a seat that was located as far away as possible because I didn't want to pick a side. But finally, I found a chair, and I sat down to take a deep breath because I didn't even realize that I held my breath since I walked in and I was close to fainting. This moment felt like hours when it only was a couple of minutes. But after a few seconds, the door opens up, and down to the right, a man comes in, and he was dressed in a prison suit, and with his hands hanging hopelessly in front of his stomach in handcuffs, and being escorted by 2 policemen on each side. At first, I was so scared to not recognize him anymore. But when our eyes met for the first time, we both started to cry. It felt like my heart was going to explode from sorrow, anger, and fear. But there he was. The father I knew. The father who's been there my whole life, and the father I loved. When I grew up, I have always been my daddy's little girl. And he was the one who cooked extra food when I had friends over, gave away groceries and sometimes money from his own pocket to help people in a hard time. And to go from that to a daughter of a felon, a daughter to a criminal, and a daughter to a father who got sentenced to prison for attempted murder, or my mom. I want you all to close your eyes and follow my voice. Visualize one person you love in the whole world standing in front of you. This person is your hero, and you cannot imagine a life without them. Is it a parent, maybe, child, a family member, partner, maybe even a pet? I want you to hug this person and feel how much you love them, and feel how grateful you are. And for a second now, I want you to imagine that you're going to bed and falling asleep, and this person is now gone in this physical world and died when you were asleep. And all the things you can think about is all the things you did not tell this person, how much you love them, and how much they really meant to you in your life. How does that feel? You can now open your eyes. That was my biggest fear, night after night in July 2012. I was so scared to wake up and not have my parents in my life anymore at 19. And my overthinking started to visualize that my parents will not meet my future children, see me getting married or accomplish big things in this world, like standing on this stage and making a change. And I was so scared to lose my mom. And in some of my nightmares, I did. That fear is still hanging on over 10 years later. But that fear is not coming from a trauma anymore. That feeling comes from love, and that I cherish every moment with my mom today. That is why this is very special, because this is the first time my mom sees me public speak. Yeah. And I want you to know, Mom, that you are my biggest hero. my biggest inspiration and the best mom in the whole world. And I love you. Now we all can understand that our life can totally change overnight. I wanted to point out that it can happen to any of us. Me and my family could never imagine that we would be in this situation. And that was so far away from our reality from one day to another. The society called her a victim, and him from a perpetrator and a criminal. But I called them mom and dad. As a daughter, I was so close to turn to own criminality, get huge money problems with quick loans, and I even thought about drugs and suicide because the emotions were too much to handle. Did you know that a 19-year-old daughter can be responsible for her father's life when he goes to prison? All his bills, cars, house, the meeting with the bank, the lawyers, and even the bailiff is now her responsibility. And I lost so many years from living my father's life outside the prison walls. And that almost broke me. In worst case scenario, I would not be alive and standing here on this stage today. So if we can change that worst case scenario into the best case scenario for one person, we have saved lives together starting today. That is why I'm using my experiences, my story, and my voice for so many of us. And I want to point out 3 facts in hope to make a change. Fact number 1. In Sweden, there are 160,000 children each year who have a parent that's been convicted of a crime where the children are left without support because of lack in national guidelines. Did you know that in April 2021, the government office in Sweden added that the mission is to strengthen and develop support for children as relatives of a crime? This is still very new and undeveloped in the country. And before that, there was no national guidelines at all. And most of the countries are still lacking in this area today. So can you imagine how many people fall between the chairs of a crime on a global level without developed national guidelines, and without national guidelines at all? It will not be a big change. Number 2, we need to talk about it to get free from our own prison of emotions. I know it's a hard subject to talk about, and most of the people get uncomfortable when I mention my story. And before we are changing national guidelines all over the world, the music and the dance became my therapy and saved my life during this time. So if you have a hard time to talk about your traumas and emotions, where's your freedom spot? For me, it was the dance. But what is that for you? Number 3, a child can still love their parent, even if they have committed a serious crime. It is hard to cut that bond from one day to another, and not all children want to do that. So when society comments like, that person deserves to die, please think about how much shame you're putting in this child's and family's lap. Even if my dad committed a crime, it felt like I was the one who did the time outside the prison walls. And all that whispers, comments, and the silent treatment was the top of the mountains of emotions and shame. But just a hug, a cooked meal where someone said, I don't know what to say, but I'm here. That meant so much, and all the small gestures can make a huge impact. Because since the beginning of our being, we have been avoiding danger just to survive. It is very easy to overthink and visualize that worst case scenario because we do that every day together through media, the news, and programming that into our society. But I want to challenge that and challenge our minds here today and think about what if? What if the best case scenario would unfold for you, for me, and for us? What would that look like? And what is my best case scenario? I am speaking up to change national guidelines for millions of people that really need it, but too afraid or ashamed to use their voice. Just as simple as get the right to get counseling and talk about the trauma and what happened and how you feel in this situation. And I am here and I am crushing this prison of emotions by using my voice and speaking my truth, and I have never felt the freedom I feel today. So change can come, but change needs to be a decision. So now you take action here today and make the worst case scenario into the best case scenario for the future of our generations. And I truly believe when we make the decision to go for it, we are unstoppable. So do we need to change national guidelines all over the world in this area? I know we are. It just takes you, me, and a decision for change, and I know one thing for all this. I know I cannot save everyone, even if I want to. But what I can do is to inspire and show the way and be that living proof that it is possible to find your way out of that trauma and live your life that you choose, filled with happiness, passion, and love. And I am free from the mental prison affected by the society. And I am free from the trauma who no longer is my identity. And I am free because I choose to be me. Thank you. Thank you.